We're back at Big Ten Media Days, and Ohio State's day is done here, but the Ohio State Buckeyes still a very hot topic here among some of the other teams that are still getting interviewed. One of those teams today was Penn State. They let you hear a lot from Penn State quarterback Drew Allar. Not a huge surprise that the Buckeyes came up a bunch during his conversation. He, of course, is an Ohio native, so you get a little bit of an in-state tie there. And the Buckeyes have also represented a little bit of a hurdle that Penn State is still working to get over. They've not beaten the Buckeyes since 2016, and with the Nittany Lions projected to win the Big Ten this year, they're going to probably have to do that in order to reach their goals. So let's start with one common tie among those two teams, which is new Penn State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles. Knowles was Ohio State's defensive coordinator in a national championship winning season last year, then went east, headed back to his home state of Pennsylvania to take over as the DC under James Franklin. So what has Drew Allar gotten out of sitting down with Jim Knowles to talk about last year's game where Knowles was on the other sideline and was charged with stopping Drew Allar, and how and why Knowles did what he did and defended Allar the way that he did?
Yeah, I've actually been able to sit down with him and a couple of guys that he brought over from Ohio State and really sit back and watch the game from last year and just really understand their philosophy behind like why they were calling certain things and maybe the tells that we had as an offense. So all those sorts of things. Like he was able to show me the scouting report that they had on me and other guys. So I thought it was really positive feedback from the standpoint, like I knew there was areas I needed to work on, but those kind of reconfirmed it. So like just knowing that those areas that showed up on film and trying to make those into strengths for me this year, so those things don't happen. But I mean, I'm really excited to go against him and the defense this fall camp because I think it's going to be the best defense in the country, and I know our goal for offense is to be the best offense in the country. So to be able to go against them every day is going to be really fun. I mean, there's going to be some challenging days, but that's what's going to pay off in the long run during the season.
Mentioned earlier that one of the big themes for Penn State is getting over the hump in close games, in marquee games. Ohio State is obviously some of those games, but they also narrowly lost to Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, narrowly lost to Notre Dame in the college football playoff semifinals. Just what do they have to do to sort of take that next step to get over the hump in games like that?
Yeah, I've talked about it a little bit with Coach Franklin and Coach K, and for us, you know, we definitely need to get over that hump. There's no question about it. But we've also been one of the most consistent programs over his tenure, especially the last 11 years or whatever he's been the Penn State head coach. So our process has been working, but we definitely need to find different ways to, you know, come out with different results in those games. And I think for us, at least me specifically, it's just about execution of us from a player standpoint. Like there hasn't been at least in my career, like we haven't really been blown out of the water by any team. So it's really just about finding those areas to make one or two more plays throughout those games, because those types of games, when you're going against those great opponents that have equal talent as you and also equal coaching staff and that sort of thing, it comes down to maybe just 4 or 5 plays throughout the game. So finding a way to maybe get into a better play or make one more throw that maybe I didn't make it's all the difference. So just finding different ways to, you know, the little things that add up into big things over time is going to be our focus.
Having a history like that could be a positive thing or a negative thing, depending on how you want to look at it. You want to say negative, it's, boy, it's going to be a mental block. If you want to say positive, it's like, boy, you've got some experience. You know you're close. You know the margin is very fine. So is that a positive or a negative thing in Drew Allar's mind?
Yeah, I think the experience definitely helps because we know what those situations feel like. We know what it is like to be on both ends of it, the winning side and the losing side. So, you know, just channeling that and just flushing in the moment and staying in that present moment when those opportunities do come, I think is going to be the biggest thing for us.
Allar is, of course, a native of Medina, Ohio, up near Cleveland. So what is it going to mean to him to have a chance to go back and start in his home state in Ohio Stadium this fall?
I think, obviously being able to go back home to Ohio and play in my home state is definitely a blessing, because I was able to obviously have more family members there, more friends there. And obviously they have a great environment, great program, great team, great players and great coaches. So when that opportunity comes, I'll be looking forward to it, just for the opportunity to go back home and play them, because obviously they're a great team. And obviously they accomplished what every team in America wants to accomplish last year. So, you know, when that opportunity opportunity deuce comes, I'll be excited for it. But for me, it's always about going 1-0, never overlooking the opponents because again, like we play Nevada week 1, so when we get through that part of training camp where we're shifting our focus to the season, I'll put all my focus on Nevada.
You'll sometimes hear people say that all their losses are lessons. So what were the lessons that Drew Allar took from close games against Oregon and Ohio State last year?
Yeah, I think the Oregon game specifically, I played well in for the most part, but there was 2 costly mistakes. Obviously, the first interception, we were down 21-10 at that point. I threw an interception, which was basically a pick six since they got on the one. It was one play, like halfback dive or whatever. So now we're down 28-10. But the thing I took from that game is the way we battled back. Like we came back and rattled off 2 scores. But again, like if I don't have those 2 costly interceptions, maybe it's a different outcome for us. And because we were having a pretty good game offensively from that standpoint, and I was playing pretty well besides maybe 5 or 6 plays. And then the Ohio State game, again, it's like just 1 or 2 different plays. Obviously, they had a great goal line stand. They made a lot of plays when they needed to make plays. So credit to them. They have, again, like a really good ball club, really good coaching staff. So they're going to make plays, but it's about just finding 1 or 2 more plays to make throughout that game that can maybe change that outcome. So again, like all these games that we're talking about come down to like a handful of plays. Obviously, they're going to be really tight games just because of the talent on both sides of the field. So again, those are the opportunities that I wanted to come to Penn State to play in those types of games, and looking forward to just again kind of just having one more go at it for my senior year.
This time last year at Big Ten Media Days, one of the hot topics was how Ohio State had all these veteran players coming back because they had unfinished business to handle. So did Penn State, which now has a bunch of veteran players coming back to handle some unfinished business, did they look at what happened with Ohio State, the fact that they reached a lot of their goals last year, winning the national championship? Was that something he and his teammates looked at and part of their decision?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say, but I think for us, like, again, it kind of relates back to my message earlier. Like, for us, like, I know for me, I wanted to accomplish a lot more as a team and individually. I could say the same for all the guys that made that decision to come back. So I think for us, it was about reflecting on each person's journey because obviously everybody had a different decision to make. Everybody's decision wasn't like mine or that sort of thing. So making those decisions, and then we stepped back foot and lashed for our first lift of the winter, like just realizing, all right, now it's like we're here. Like we didn't just come back to come back. We came back for a reason, and we need to push everybody around us to be the best they possibly can. And I think we've done a really good job of that. We have a lot of great leaders on both sides of the ball, a lot of experience. So I'm really looking forward to just, again, playing football and competing against us when fall camp comes around.
Ohio State certainly benefited from having a lot of those veteran players back last year. What's the value of having so much experience and veteran depth in close games like the ones we've been talking about?
I mean, just like you said, it's experience. The more you're in those moments, the more you know what it feels like on both outcomes, good and bad. So just knowing, like when those moments do come, like, all right, like now resetting your mind to focus on the present, not thinking about the outcome or anything, like just focusing on the process of everything to hopefully come out with different outcomes in those opportunities.
Mentioned earlier that Allar had been working with Jim Knowles. What is that give and take like with an offensive player talking to the defensive coordinator in terms of what the defensive coordinator can bring to him and what Allar can maybe bring to Knowles?
Yeah, they're really good conversations. Honestly, we'll talk about a lot of different things. Honestly, like whether it's like offensive football, defensive football, what he sees, young guys in our program that we think are going to be really good players for us, and also just kind of just talking about football in general, like how I see the game, how he sees the game, picking his brain about like how he tries to disguise on defense and that sort of thing, and just giving him any tips that I have, like maybe tells that I have from him or things that help me gather information pre-snap, and him doing the same for me. So I think, again, like the one thing that's cool about our program is obviously we compete in everything we do, but we also want to see each other succeed. So I think that's just the culture we have at Penn State. So we're always going to, obviously, when it's time to play football, like compete against each other and try to win every drill that we can. But then after the fact, put that aside and like just be honest with each other and just see what we saw out on the field.
And one more question about Jim Knowles. What is it like going up against Jim Knowles, someone as smart as Jim Knowles, with as many tools in his toolbox as Jim Knowles in practice every day?
Yeah, it's really fun going against him in practice, obviously, because again, he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. And now to be going against him every day in practice, it can only help me. No matter how challenging his scheme is, obviously we have a lot of talented players on that side of the ball, so that already makes it pretty hard. But going against his scheme has been really fun throughout spring ball, and just kind of getting to know him a little bit more about his scheme and like how he's kind of evolved to call his defense and that sort of thing. Just kind of trying to look at it from a different perspective and not just always on the offensive side of the ball, but how maybe defensive coaches adjust mid-game and why they adjust mid-game.
Mentioned earlier that Allar is a native of Medina, Ohio, and again, that is up near Cleveland. He is a lifelong Cleveland Brown fan. He's been going to Browns games ever since he was a little kid. What is that like, being a Cleveland Browns fan? What does that mean to him as a football player now? And you'll hear a quick follow-up, and the follow-up is, who is your favorite Browns player?
Definitely shaped my love of football for sure. I mean, I know I've said it a ton, but I grew up going to Cleveland Browns games every Sunday, every home game, from the time I was like 6 or 7 years old. The first time I missed a Cleveland Browns home game was my freshman year at Penn State. My dad still has the tickets in his name. Obviously, he doesn't. I don't think he's made one since I've been in college, but still owns the rights to the seats. So it means a lot to me. And I think just growing up in really the Midwest, but more specifically Northeast Ohio, specifically where it's a big football town region in general, it's definitely shaped my love. And then obviously having my dad who played football in high school and was fortunate enough to play in college as well, it really helped me. Favorite Brown? There's been a lot of them. It's kind of hard to name one, but I think one that probably sticks out to me the most would be like I'm gonna have a tough. I love Joe Hayden. Even though he's a defensive guy, I love watching Joe Hayden.
So there you go. A little Penn State talk, a little Ohio State talk, a little Cleveland Browns talk, a little everything for you. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We'll have much more coming up this week, all here from Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas. I'll have plenty more. The Oregon Ducks talking today, Penn State talking today, plus a bunch of other teams. And then Michigan is here tomorrow. So plenty to talk about this week. You can talk about it all with us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That'll do it for now. We'll talk to you later.